Welcome to Rough Realities and Revelations.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm alright. It's cold today. I see you with your hat on today.
Yeah.
It's not. Nah, it's a bit chilly.
Yeah, definite drop in the temperature today.
Yeah, bit sad about that.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to layer up.
Yeah,
I'm going to start looking like the Michelin Man when I'm
already got my thermals on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not gone to that yet. We've got Mr. Blue here. He's looking a bit tired now.
Yeah,
He's settled on your knee.
yeah.
How is he settling in?
It's been a mixed bag of adventures. A mixed bag of adventures.
With Blue,
Yeah,
the head of the cartel, I
yeah.
can't believe that.
This furry little dictator.
He really is. His motto is like, I honestly think he's a proper Gen Xer. Walk around and find out. That's him.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
I love it.
Yeah. So we've just been, he had a little upset tummy.
Oh.
So that's kind of spurred me on to get the ball rolling more on like handling, muzzle training, things he's going to need like to see the vet.
Yep.
Because I suddenly thought, you know, might have to go and see the vet about his upset tummy, but fortunately that didn't happen. We've started to work on a little bit of recall. Just in the garden.
Yep.
And when he's out on the leash, just calling him back in on the leash.
Nice.
And we've been practicing leaving him on his own.
Ooh. How's that going?
Yeah, fine. Just because I had like a lunch coming up that I was going to have that I couldn't take him to. Because he comes to work with me every day. Most places I go, he can come with me. But I thought we really need to start, and Christmas is coming up as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have nights out and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure that he's like really comfortable at home on his own.
Yeah. And I think now's a good time because you've had
a month.
So that's 4 weeks to settling in. And I think, I think the leaving them alone thing is a minefield for people.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard one to judge because so much information out there.
Yeah.
Some of it is still from like the 70s and some of that is from today when we know more and we understand things more. And I think because I look back, my take on it now is we want the dogs to actually settle in and feel safe and secure with the routine of the household, the people in the household, what's going on in their lives, to be comfortable being on their own. Yeah. Like, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable on my own if I didn't know where I was. Yeah. And I didn't know, like, the people that were around, and I would feel quite twitchy. Yeah. I wouldn't like that. But if I knew the place and I knew people and they said, oh, Becky, I'm just going to go away. Do you want to wait here? I'd be like, oh, it's okay. I kind of know this. I wouldn't be as panicky. And I get that. But information back in the day very much was start as you mean to go on. Yeah. You know, leave them on their own as soon as you can. Yeah. And that was a bit rubbish for a lot of dogs.
Definitely. I mean, I just felt like, well, yeah, one, he didn't really know like the house and the noises that like came with the house and what was normal and what wasn't. And also like he didn't really know me.
No.
Like, you know, he didn't know, like, if he could trust me, like, you know, was I going to come back? Like, you know, what was his situation now? Like,
yeah, and there's so many unanswered questions for him. Yeah. Like, he didn't know it, like anything. Yeah. So there's no way he would have found that an enjoyable experience where he just would have went and lay down and went to sleep for a bit whilst he went out. Yeah. Which, quite frankly, is what most dogs do. Yeah, and it's what he did. I found a little cozy spot where he'd been lying. Oh. So I just started gradually building him up. So and then I done the fastest Tesco shop ever. Other supermarkets are available. But like I didn't even buy like full meals or anything because I was just really aware that he was at home. So like, you know, ran around the supermarket grabbing stuff. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing. That's nice because I think this is a lot of conversations I have with a lot of my students at class. They're like, how do I introduce leaving them on their own? When do I do it? It's one, every dog is different. So what works for one dog doesn't necessarily work for another. Everybody's lifestyle is different. And also people's expectations as well are very different about what the dog should tolerate and things. I mean, I'm always horrified. So our Sprocker Cash, he's almost 14. So that's how long ago we're going. We got him as a puppy and it was very much the starters you mean to go on. So I literally had him like 12 hours and was like, he needs to be getting used to being on his own. We had Murphy at the time, so we had one other dog. So we left Cash in his little crate, with a chew or a Kong. It'll be something like that. Myself, John, and Murphy left and went down to the garden just for like 5-10 minutes, and I came back. Now, luckily, not a peep from him, no problem at all. But knowing what I know now, I'm like, you harsh bitch.
I know.
That was so fucking mean. He'd only been with you 12 hours. He'd been ripped away from the only family he'd ever known.
Yeah.
He didn't know what was going on. And you're like, bye. Like,
just fend for yourself now.
See you later.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's going to be a bit of a journey for me as well because, you know, my previous dogs, like, they've not really been bothered if I've been in, out, in the garden without them.
You were never really appreciated in a visual way.
Especially the Chihuahua. It's like, as long as I was there to open the dog food for them at dinner time.
That's all they cared about.
That's all they cared about. And they could take or leave me the rest of the time.
I know it's so harsh. But that's because they came from the Horden situation. And actually, humans did them dirty. And they had they didn't want to rely on humans because nobody had been very nice to them. So they just got used to
we had a bond, but they were quite happy with their own company, taking comfort from each other.
That's what I mean. They didn't visually show you how much they appreciated you.
Yeah.
They were just like, like super too cool for school.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Whereas Mr. Klingon
he's not.
over
He's
here.
Like, he's like, are you going to the bathroom? I'll come to the bathroom. Can we all go to the bathroom?
I know. And I think, do you know what? See, in the beginning, I think that's important to let them follow you about. I don't think there's again, this is where I hear like old wives' tales coming in or human logic coming in that doesn't necessarily translate to the dog. So people will say, or try not let them follow me about because I want them to be okay being on their own. But if they've only just arrived with you and they don't know you, they don't know the routine, they don't know the household, let them follow you because then it's not scary. And then they can rely on you. So let them go from room to room with you. And as the weeks go on, then you can do things like whilst they're chilling, maybe, so either they're sleeping, you could maybe start moving around a bit more to another room, whatever, come back. But also you can do things like give them, if they're having like any of their puzzle toys, so like the food interactive ones or, maybe like they're having a nice tasty chew and they're quite content. Use that time to wander about and let them know, actually, I do come back in the room. Because like you say, he didn't know. Would you come back?
Yeah.
Would he be there for days on end, just on his own?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think you need to start initially building those little steps before you then start going, I'm going to do the fastest shop rounds up various supermarkets that I can do.
Yeah.
Have you put a camera in?
No, we've not got a camera.
Oh, brave person.
I know, I do have one. I've just not set it up.
I think they're game changers.
Yeah.
For like back in the day, like with Poor Cash, there was no camera. Whereas now we can buy like little cameras that connect to an app on our phone, and we don't have to do that creepy. I'll listen at the door and see bark.
Well, I've got it set up on Alexa, which I had it set up for my previous dog Patch. I get a text like if there's barking.
Oh, very good.
And then Alexa plays calming music. But she never texts me to say that he was barking or anything
that's
when
nice.
I was out.
Oh, that's good.
So, you know, the very first time I left him, he done a little pee in the house. But then the next couple of times he was fine. Like, I feel like I could probably do a couple of hours now and he would be fine.
I think I think when you move slowly in the beginning with it, you actually get to be able to leave them on their own faster. I think that it's every dog is an individual.
Yeah. I mean, I've left him with like full roam of the house. I've not put him in a crate or anything, but I know that some people, I think particularly with puppies, maybe you might want to confine them to like a smaller space. I've never had a puppy, so
yeah, you definitely want to restrict their movements from dangerous things. Yeah. I think it's important to understand as well, as you are building up to getting them used to being on their own, is to understand the difference between the dog being frustrated that they either cannot access you or do not have as much freedom as before, and the dog actually being distressed. Because I think there's still, you know, like I was saying, there's still information for like 70s of let them cry it out, let them, which, do you know what, is probably what your gang had to go through with being with the hoarders. They probably were barking, being in the crates. Nobody went to see them.
Yeah.
And then the theory is they eventually learn nobody comes and gets you when you bark. But from studies in science nowadays, we know that's actually really detrimental to the dogs, because when you're so stressed that you're now panicking and you're barking, you're screeching, you're panting really heavily, you know, a lot of dogs will bite the bars of the crates and things. They'll, you know, be scrabbling at the bottom to get out. They might be doing this on your doors. Their little bodies are getting filled full of cortisol. I was almost about to say cholesterol there. That was wrong. Cortisol, which is your stressy hormone. And when your system is too full of cortisol, can't speak. This is not helpful. You can't think and you can't learn. So dogs who are exposed to stress on a regular basis and their cortisol levels stay really high, those dogs can never retain information. And they're like harder to train almost. And they do a lot of things that people deem annoying, but actually it's because your dog's stressed out his head all the time. So when we take the attitude of, well, I'm not going to go in unless you're quiet, it's actually really not helpful depending on the dog. And I think that's when it becomes important to learn the difference between frustration and genuine being distressed and distraught and panicking. Like if I was working it up to, you know, sometimes when my guys were younger, yes, they'd be put in their crates because they were making a pest of themselves. And the other dogs had been telling them off and saying, we're not playing, we're not doing this, you know, blah, blah, blah. And for their own safety, I was like, you're going to have to go and chill out because, you know, the older ones are going to get you now. And they would get angry. So you would get angry barks. You would get like a rah, rah, like this, or yes, they might scrabble at the bottom.
Rattle the door is like a really common one. Alma used to do that. She'd put her foot right in
like, let me out. And I think in a way, I'm not saying like just watch them do that, but I wouldn't be too quick to step in and release and calm them down, because I'd be like, I would like to have a resilient dog. I would like to have a dog who can bounce back from situations that either frustrate them, you know, they can't get their own way, they get a little fright. I want them to have that emotional resilience to go, I didn't die, it's okay, I can work through this. That's something they have to learn. They don't get that through age or anything like that. So for me, those kind of scenarios, I wouldn't be too quick to be like, whoa, this is too much for you. Let's get you out of that situation. But if they were to slip into distress where it's a much higher pitch barking, it's like a proper yowly yowl. I'm seeing other stress signals like, you know, a lot of wail-eye, a lot of panting, because when they're angry, they don't quite pant, some pant, but not in the same way as a stressy, you know, that wide panty way. And if I see that, absolutely I step in and I'll go, oh, information for me. You weren't ready for that sort of thing. And I think it is important as you're building the dog into this, that you recognise the difference between the two. And especially when the dog has slipped into distress, you absolutely don't try and push it any further.
Yeah.
Because all that will start to happen is you set up a routine of when you start to do your little routines of getting ready to leave, the dog knows, because the dog's like, oh, I'm about to have the worst time ever and I'm going to hate this. And, you know, look, you've just taken me out for a pee. Oh, I saw you getting that licky mat ready for me. Mm-hmm. Oh, shit, you're going to start leaving and I hate it and I don't like it. So already the stress behaviour starts.
Yeah.
You haven't done anything to say to that dog, being on your own is actually a nice thing. You get to sleep, you're left in peace. You could sit and look out the window like you are, Mr. Nosy. Mm-hmm. He's like looking out the window, he's like, what's happening behind us? And that just, you're already off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, oh, actually, do you know what? I tried doing the fastest shop ever and it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ease back, I'll do shorter time-ins where my dog's comfortable. And then, lo and behold, your dog will be more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking, did I jump around there? But
No. So I think, you know, for a lot of, you know, puppies, for example,
mm-hmm.
I think what you're saying is that a lot of work needs to be in place before you actually start leaving them. So getting them comfortable in the place that you're leaving them, like in the crate with the door shut, in the pen or whatever, and making sure all of those steps are in place before you then start to leave the room, leave the house, go to Tesco's.
Absolutely. Because it's the different, because you've got loads of layers to all of the leaving them on their own part.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, in a way, I think it's been brought to people's attention more due to the pandemic. Because everybody got to be in their bonnet about, we're all working from home. We'll have so many dogs that are distressed when they're on their own. And, you know, I'm definitely, and I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that for 1 second, because before the pandemic, there were people who only got dogs because they were around all the time. That used to be the thing.
Yeah.
It was very frowned upon back in the day. If you worked and you got a dog, everybody was like, so irresponsible.
Yeah.
You know, whereas you could only get a dog if you either had a job that the dog could come with you, or you were, if there was people in the family around all day for the dog.
I think a lot of mums were in the house as well.
Yeah, because God forbid a woman could have family and work. But whereas now, you know, yes, we've got more things at our disposal and stuff like that, but I've lost the train of my thought now. My brain just stopped working there.
Right.
So what were we just saying? We were talking about you didn't get a dog unless you could be with them.
Yeah.
Oh, this is it. The nonsense about, because I'm around all the time, the dog will definitely not cope on its own.
Yeah.
Because dogs back in the day did cope on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And even nowadays, a lot of people would wait until they're retired and stuff.
Yeah.
Their dogs did not get upset.
Yeah.
And need specialist trainers to help them through. So, but I think because it's been brought to people's attention, they're now, almost hyper aware of everything, and they're quick to diagnose.
Yeah.
Like they're Google diagnosing things, and actually there's a whole other set of layers. Like you say, is it, if you're trying to leave your dog in their crate, do you put your dog in the crate any other time? Like, would your dog choose to actually go in its crate other than when you put it in and you leave? Yeah. Is the issue with the crate and not with being on their own? I.e., if they were left to either just sit on the settee or be able to look out a window, would they actually be quiet?
Yeah.
Or is it that your dog's quiet for most of the time until the postman comes and puts something through your door, or until a delivery comes, chaps your door, or until
the dog walks past the window, or something like that.
And that's what set them off, and they just can't bring themselves down. Now, that's not an issue about being left alone.
Yeah.
That's an issue about not managing those big emotions.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, but people would be like, oh, my dog barks there when it's on its own, therefore that's what the problem is. And it might not be.
Yeah.
It might be that actually, because you're worried, so maybe you've acknowledged your young dog isn't comfortable in a crate or a pen, but they're at the age where they're going to chew stuff and like all that kind of thing. So you think, well, I'm going to put them in a room where they can't chew stuff. So you don't really leave anything for them. So there's not particularly a bed for them to lie on.
Yeah.
There's nowhere comfy to sit and to do, and then you expect them to go, I'll just go to sleep now and just relax.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's like when you go, you know, you see it in crime programs and that, you know, when the suspect's getting interviewed. Interview rooms are not inviting. No. It's designed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's designed to be barren and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's the same premise we go for the dog. So I think there's people, they might be aware that their dog might not cope on their own, but then there doesn't seem to be a lot of information about all the other reasons that they don't want to be on their own. Like, it's not so much being on their own, it's how you've left them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I think that's tricky. And what are you planning on leaving him time-wise? What do you think? I mean, you're saying 2 hours now, but...
Yeah, so I think, like, if I was, like, going into town, like, and having lunch, and then, you know, and then having to make my way back, I mean, I think potentially, like, I could be looking at maybe 4 hours, maybe even 5 hours, depending on traffic.
That'll probably be when we go out somewhere.
Yeah.
We go out for ages.
Yeah. I think, you know, especially if I was going, like, into actual town.
Yeah, not with me, though.
No, not with you.
I don't do actual town.
But for this one that I've got, like, coming up, you know, because I'll need to park and then get public transport because, you know, I'm not ULEZ.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah.
God.
I know.
Public transport.
I know, public transport, because I can't go in there. Was it my sister calls them the lesbian bus lanes. I can't go in the lesbian bus lanes. I'm not ULEZ. Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of making what would probably be like an hour and a half lunch. It's making it more like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what I'd be like aiming for.
I think that's reasonable.
I mean, I used to regularly leave my dogs for that lengthy time. Like, you know, I'd go out in the morning, do some work, come back at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Go back out, do some work, come back at dinner time. You know, so it probably was like 3 or 4 hour like chunks that they were like on their own.
I think it's because again, I'm now thinking about like some of the things my students. So some of my students definitely overthink things, and I love the fact that they put the dog's emotional well-being really high up on their list.
Yeah.
But there are some people that genuinely themselves feel they can't leave the dog more than an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for like the dog's emotional well-being. Of course I am.
Yeah.
But also, you know, we have lives to live.
Well, this is it.
And I don't want to be saying like, oh no, I can't come and meet you up the time for lunch because I have a dog. That's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, that one's only reserved for things you don't want to do.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Don't give that away, though.
Oh, yeah, shh, don't tell anyone.
Don't give that away.
But what I mean is, I think there's a difference. But me, I will judge time-wise on the age of the dog and how good their bladder is.
Yeah.
So for me, with puppies, young dogs, I personally prefer to be limited by how long I know they can hold their bladder for. So that I'm not letting my dog, one, get physically uncomfortable, because we all know what it's like with a full bladder. Yeah. That's not pleasant.
Yeah.
But I don't then want them to feel bad toileting in the house because I left it too late.
Yeah, and a lot of dogs do feel bad.
They do.
Have to, I mean,
my Riley,
he's like,
sad.
He's like, I will just walk about and pee on anything, whether in need or not. But cousin Leo, like, if he ever had an upset tummy or anything, without, like, he was mortified.
That's
like,
Riley.
He was so upset.
Yeah, Riley's the same. If he can't.
Dodger, on the other hand, like, she would actively come in from the garden to pee in the house.
My Basset was like that as he aged. Basically, the little poop pipe wasn't very good anymore, so it would just fall out.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times that I sometimes thought to myself, I don't think that just fell out, son. I think you just couldn't be bothered going to the back door because you knew we would clean it up. Like, you just look at you and go, you'll clean that up. I don't care.
Right.
You know, so there are some dogs. But, so for me, if my young dog is only good for about an hour and a half, I will make sure I'm only away for an hour and a half so that we can have a comfortable toilet break and everything's fine. But then I'll also look at on the personality of the dog. Some dogs are absolutely fine being on their own. Others do find it a little bit stressy.
Yeah.
They might not be at the distress stage, but you could tell they worry a little bit. So I'll maybe, as we're building it up, I might not be away as long as I maybe would have been with one of my other dogs if you follow. But I think it's quite reasonable for an adult dog with a good bladder, no medical conditions.
Yeah.
4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, I think is reasonable in a chunk because quite often they're sleeping. I mean, my dog walking, I mean, most of them are asleep when I go in now because they're all ancient, but even in their heyday, the owners would ask me, oh, how were they when you got in? And I'm like, they're just sleeping on the couch, you know, or they were sleeping in their bed. I had to wake them up. Most dogs, honestly, just go to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, look, our chats put Blue to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I see that in the daycare as well. Like, obviously, the dogs have scheduled naps, but, you know, they're like, great, let's go down for a nap. And a lot of them are like, you know, after maybe 3 hours, they're like, I'm not ready to get up yet. You know, I'll hear the staff saying, oh, so-and-so's not ready to get up from their nap yet. You know, when they're at daycare, you know.
Exactly, where it's like heightened excitement and that. But they're like,
no, I'll have another hour or two.
I love those dogs. They're great. But I think we forget, in general, dogs do need a lot of sleep. Even an adult dog.
Yeah.
Still, you're talking 16, 18 hours of sleep within a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great. I would fucking love
great.
that. I'd love that. But we're not dogs. We're not going to get that.
No.
However, if, you know, if we get caught in worrying.
You're like yawn coming on just thinking about it. I'm sorry.
I know. You're like, oh, that would be good. I can just go for a little nap. But if we get unnecessarily worried, where we get stuck in our own head about, oh, but I got my dog to keep my dog company. I got my dog, you know, whatever. Actually, think of it this way. You're robbing them of potential sleep.
Yeah.
Where your dog would be like, I just like to have a nap, thanks. That's all I want, just have a nap.
Yeah.
And
good sleep as well, you know. We're not fussing about with the Hoover on and, you know, and the telly on and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think 4 or 5 hours at a time is really reasonable. And
actually, do you think you should leave the telly on for them or music or stuff? I always leave music on.
Like, I always leave music on. TVs tend to go off.
Yeah, I always leave classic FM on. I used to leave it on for Cousin.
I do Planet Rock. And mine's all headbang my parrot. Sings along to it. Yeah. She loves it. And there was a study done.
It's no wonder everybody in your house has got Save Heats all the time.
But there was a study done.
I know, but who done the study? Who paid for the study? How, like,
I don't
the study.
I don't remember details.
You're like, oh, there was a study. It's like, was it Becky's study of 7 dogs?
No, honestly, there was a study where, yes, they acknowledge classical music does help dogs.
Some classical music.
Yeah, not all. I mean, it would make me want to, like, gouge my ears out.
It's only some classical music that is actually scientifically proven to be calming for humans and for dogs.
All right, well, I've not found that one yet. But the study also said similar about rock and reggae.
Right. That was not the same study. There's multiple studies on.
There is multiple studies
on classical music.
Well, there will be, but I don't read those ones. I just read the one where it gave me the answer that I quite liked.
The study.
I didn't.
You read like the headline of a post about the study,
and I went, "That's why my dogs are so chilled because they listen to like some Metallica."
You never read the study.
I just read the summary.
Most you read the highlight.
Yeah, and then I get you to tell me the. I can't retain information anymore. I'm too old.
Who paid for the study? Was it Planet Rock?
Maybe it was Kerrang.
Yeah.
But you're right though. Because that goes back to masking the signs of delivery guys.
Yeah.
Like I live in a flat, so we have people walking up and down the stairs. And stuff. And admittedly, like you're saying with him, letting him settle in, getting used to the noises around yours and stuff like that. My gang have to get used to all that as well. But I absolutely leave the radio on for them. And again, that could be things stuck in my own head.
Yeah.
About, oh, I don't want them to be on their own and stuff like that. But I think that it does help to mask noises and stuff like that.
I think so.
And I think, it's worth mentioning, if we're talking about dogs that, ours are okay. Like I don't have any dogs that are to the point where they go straight into distress.
No.
They're toileting in the house. They're like through distress. They're not toileting just because you were late and they've had a little accident. They're toileting quite early into you going because they're so stressed.
Yeah.
And they're very vocal about it, or they're destroying things and stuff like that. Like, we don't have dogs like that.
No, I mean, I have customers that do have problems.
Yeah, so do I.
Separation anxiety. And it makes it really tricky to groom them, like when they're like that. And it's not because they're being groomed, it's because they're not with their owner.
Yeah. And it's weird. That's a different facet of the separation. That is
being left in places like that they...
No, well, you got the attachment one. So you got the attachment disorder, which is under that umbrella. And this is, again, why you don't want to become like Dr. Google about it.
Yeah.
Because actually the whole separation anxiety umbrella is an umbrella term. There's then lots of little divisions within that. And I think if you've got a dog that's doing those things, I think you have to bring in a specialist. Somebody who specialises in helping people whose dogs can't be on their own, because there's certain protocol you have to follow. Yeah. And sometimes we need medication from the vets. Sometimes, back to our old pain thing, when dogs are sore, they're not as happy being left. So sometimes, it can be a health reason for these things. So when we're talking about dogs that are like actually going to be all right. Yeah. But I'm very aware that there's dogs that are not. Yeah. But that's a different kettle of fish.
No, definitely. And they do need specialist help.
Yeah.
And also a village, that saying, it takes a village. You need a village to support a dog that has separation anxiety.
You totally do. But
yeah.
No, I was just going to say, like, I'm glad look at him, we've bored him.
I know.
He's not even looking out the window anymore. He's just...
I know, acting like he wasn't behaving like a Korean dictator an hour ago.
His wee ears are twitching. He's like, don't speak about me like that. Ladies.
Oh. But fine. So leading up to my lunch out up the town then, what are our key takeaways for leaving our dog?
You've done it already. You've allowed him his settling in period. You've then built up some resilience because you were nipping from room to room and stuff like that. You did your quick exiting and things, and you've also going to start leaving them that little bit longer, and you've got your Alexa thing. Yeah. I would recommend a full-on camera. So that you can see if they're pacing, or just because he's not barking doesn't...
It's just because I live in 1952 and the internet's like a bit...
Yeah, you're terrible at your place.
Iffy. Like...
But for other people that are more...
Yeah, cameras. I had a camera set up in my last house for Pat. Like I could, and then I could talk to him through the Alexa and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's ideal. So that would give you an idea.
Before we go though, can we talk about when you come back? Because I hear people say when you come back, you should just like ignore them and make out like it's not a big deal that you've been away.
That's really shit.
And for like my previous dogs, it wasn't a big deal that I'd been away. So I could come in and put the messages away, and get my coat off and put the kettle on and then be like, oh, hi guys, and they'd be like, oh, hi, you're back, is it dinner time? Whereas he, like, he hears the car, like, he's been at the door waiting for me. Like, they're sitting at the glass door, like, waiting for me. And then he's like, oh my God, you're back. This is amazing. Like, jumping up at me.
Oh, I think it depends on what you like as a welcome.
Right.
I personally love that type of welcome. I'm more than happy for my guys to, like, actually jump. I do encourage feet on the floor, but then I'll give them the cue cuddles, which means you can jump up and all the rest of it. So I will come in and say hello, and then I'll go away and do what I need to do, and stuff. If you're of the persuasion that you prefer them to be completely calm before you see them, fine, just shout and let them know that you're there. But there's no, this is one of the studies that I didn't deep study it, I just read the summary. But there's not correlation. No, that's not even right. I'm going to get stuck with words today. See, now you're... Thank you. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Coronation Street. There's no Coronation Street.
No, I was like, correlation. No.
Correlation.
Yep. With how happy a dog is to see you and how distressed they were when you were away.
Yeah.
So you could have dogs, yes, genuinely distressed and really high to see you.
Yeah.
But equally, you have dogs that were quite happy sleeping, but they're just genuinely happy to see you again.
Yeah. But it's just, I've heard people saying that, like, if you're excited to see them, then the information that you're given is, this has been as stressful for me as it has been for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's nonsense.
I hear people saying that. I think it's nonsense, but I do hear people saying it. And so...
You know where I could see that they could say it, and it could... where it does make slight sense. If I was working on the resilient part and I was just moving from room to room and coming back, I wouldn't necessarily be acknowledging the dog
every single time.
Absolutely, because I wouldn't do that. Like, you know, say if I've been round at yours and like I've went away to the bathroom and I've come back in the living room, I don't walk back in.
Oh my God, you're back.
And I'll be like, hi, Deb.
I'm so happy you're back.
I know, did you miss me? I wouldn't do that neither. If you go to the kitchen to get a drink and you come back in the living room, do you turn to me and be like, hi, Becky?
Oh God, you're back.
I know. Like, neither of us do that because it was a quick to and fro. So I wouldn't do it in those scenarios. But if I physically left the house, I've been away for an amount of time, and then I've come back in, absolutely, I'd be like, oh, hi, how you doing? Like, I do that when I come home from work and I see John. I'm like, hiya, you all right? And I'll acknowledge it. After I've acknowledged the dogs, I'll have
Poor John. Knows his place.
He certainly does. But you know what I'm saying? Then I'm like, oh, hi.
We don't believe in pack theory, but there's a definite pecking order.
I know. So, yes, I do that. So, yes, I think depends what you're doing is then the answer.
Yeah.
To that one.
Yeah. So you can say hello to your dog if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Fine. Sorry, I distracted you from what you were saying.
That's all right. I think that was
anyway.
Do you know what? I think that was a round up.
Yeah.
You know,
perfect.
Let them settle in, build up resilience, go at their pace, learn the difference between frustrated and distraught.
Yeah.
And if there's genuine problems, please seek out a proper specialist in that field of dog training.
Definitely. And don't abandon your puppy 12 hours after you got it.
Yeah, that one's mean, isn't it? That one's mean, yeah. Don't do what I did 14 years ago. That was horrible. Cool. Right, well, we're going to have to wake the young man up and go.
I know.
Well, sorry, son. Right, bye for now.
Love you, bye.